And please keep it going for Neshama Franklin.
So I flunked out of high school, and I was summarily kicked out of my first year at college. You might sense now that I have a little trouble with school. How did this happen? Well, we're going to have to go through my educational history, but luckily it's rather short. And we'll start with Hunter Model Elementary School, which was the teaching laboratory for Hunter College. And we were all supposed to be very smart. And this was way back then. And it was an experimental school. And what did I glean from that education? Well, I remembered the floating gardens of Xochimilco, where people lived on reeds surrounded by flowers. Ooh. And then there was Miss Rice with her long dyed red hair and her long red fingernails. And every lunchtime she cut an alligator pear, that's what they called avocados on the East Coast, in half. And she dug out the pit and poured salad dressing in the declivity. And with a tiny spoon she ate. So exotic. And then then she would play many repetitions of Red River Valley, very mournfully, until they took her away. So now we're on to junior high school, which was Fieldston School, Ethical Culture School, on about 45 minutes away on the subway. And there I did get a good education, which was lucky because it was the only education I ever got. The kind of thing we had to do was to write like Homer. But what did I really want to do? I wanted to act in plays, I wanted to sing oratorios, I wanted to dance. And I spent most of my time in the shop, overseen by an impassive Mr. Hiramoto. And I made long scrolls of Laban notation, which is a way of writing down dance steps, God knows. But why did I flunk out? Because I couldn't finish my papers. Why couldn't I finish my papers? Because they thought I was smart, but I didn't think I was smart. And if I showed them what I produced, I would be unmasked as a fraud. So that's why I didn't finish. And then there was a gap year at the treatment center in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, because I was a troubled child, adolescent. And Wilkes-Barre was so much better than New York City, which I thought of as the scene of the crime, that I decided that I would go to Wilkes College. And you should know, actually, at Wilkes High School, I was very exotic, and New York City, and so I was almost on the edge of popular, which was an unusual. I was such an outsider, but they kind of liked me. But here I was in college. What did I do in college? I acted in plays. I sang in the church. I explored extracurricular activities. And that's why I got kicked out, because there I was, in full frontal embrace in the dorm common room. You didn't do this in the 50s. And so now I had a life ahead of me without any credentials or anything. I was virtually unemployable. So an old nanny got me a job, this is a little ironic, at Columbia University. With, dispensing transcripts. And there I met my husband, and we moved out of the nest of Columbia. He got a job downtown, and I decided it was time for me to get a real job, and I actually did. And I did it until it didn't work, and then I had children, and then I became, more irony, a school secretary for 8 years. I didn't like the institution, but I felt sorry for the kids. So I would be as welcoming as possible. And then we're galloping ahead with ironies. I became a magazine editor, and I had to finish my papers. So I finally got that. And so there you have it. I got all these jobs through the back door without any degrees. And what I do now, you're looking at an autodidact. That means I can study whatever I want. And my job is at, the wonderful free library, which is the best institution. I just want to take I forgot to tell you about the School of General Studies at Columbia, where I had a writing teacher. We could take free classes, who was very soft-voiced and very nervous, and she bit her nails, and her voice got softer and softer, and then they took her away. It was kind of like Miss Rice all over again. But then there was the German intensive. I was studying the language of the enemy. Why? Because it had all these spiky fairy tale calligraphy, and the verbs were at the end with all these freight train words, and you never knew how it was going to end up. And it really worked, because by the end of it, I could read Kafka in the original, and I could dream in German. So now you should know that every September, go back to school, I praise the stars that I don't have to, that I'm in the best university in the world. Do it yourself. Thank you.